environmental, and others through various sessions that we are going to have in the coming few months. So we envisage this series as our virtual journey into the landscape of this city's heritage, and beginning with understanding what heritage is today in the session. So I welcome you again as we embark upon this journey. Thank you very much, Anshika ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Ravneet. That sets the pace for the sessions. I now request our principal ma'am, Professor Harpreet Kaur, for the welcome address.
Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I really congratulate the BLED department once again, because earlier they had taken up very good FTP and it was really appreciated highly. And now they are starting this lecture series. And I suppose this lecture series is going to be really fruitful, especially for the students, because we are trying to give something additional. Because first, then again, I also welcome the speaker and all my students who are here who have joined. So with great enthusiasm, I really welcome all. But I also want to actually appreciate the topic which they have taken up. That is, I think, Delhi's culture. I think one who is living in Delhi doesn't want to live outside. I think that Delhi culture or Delhi dilwalon ki hai और इस तरह की जो बातें हैं, so all these things actually mean something, and there is a long history behind it. To understand Delhi, the cosmopolitan culture today, and earlier also Delhi was sort of all those aggressors, also invaders, also came to Delhi, and Delhi had a long history, and each part or each name of history, Shahjahanabad or everything, all have a definite meaning and a definite time period they grew. And we have also have prehistoric times also. Pandavas also be supposed to be living here. So you see, so wide range of culture is there, and so we have to understand, because the heart of Delhi, and heart of Delhi is difficult to understand because of ethnicity, because of it, because so many people who are living in Delhi, one that Chandni Chowk area, Daryaganj, and heart of that Muslim population there, or Hindu population spread elsewhere, or Sikhs who are coming, or the Biharis who have come here, or other people who have come here. And now it has become a kind of a cosmopolitan culture is there, and each learning and taking from each other. So it's very interesting to understand these facets and this phenomena, this changing phenomena. Then, of course, very rich cultural heritage is there, and the cosmopolitan lifestyle of people is very rich. And even archaeologically, if we see that there are 1,200 heritage buildings here, 175 monuments as national heritage sites. So important they are. And Mughal and Jama Masjid, Red Fort, all these things. I think Red Fort is there in Lahore also, but Red Fort here also many times it was demolished. Also, it was at and so many parts. So, but still, if you see architecturally how sound it is, those things have to be still explored, and there is a lot to understand. That how that culture or that architecture was an amalgam of basically Hindu architecture also and Muslim architecture also, and whole series of new set of architecture which came, that is the Sikh style, which is again has taken something from the Mughals also, and something from the Hindu architecture also. So there is a lot to explore. If you see the monuments, I think they are so beautiful that it's really worth appreciating what it is. And if you see the traditions, of course, now urbanization has taken the prominence, but we also see that how people enjoy, maybe people really look forward for Gurbani recitals or Qawwalis and Prabhat Fairies and Lodi Puja, Durga Puja, Mahavir Jayanti, Chhat, Krishna Janmashtami, all the festivals, how they are celebrated here with fervor. And Eid, tomorrow is we are having the Eid also. So these kind of thing, see, all the cultures find their manifestations here, and really it was a beautiful kind of a mixture, a pot, a melting pot, where there is difference of culture is there, but that Delhiite or urban culture becomes prominent. So it is both. We are sticking to our own culture, but at the same time we are also understanding that we have to be part of the lifestyle of what Delhi pressurizes us to live, or we have to be a part of that. So it is a melting pot where we are melting into the mainstream culture of cosmopolitan culture of Delhi. So these are various things which are coming up. If you see about food, the cuisines are so exclusive, and so you see South Indian style also here, and Delhi and everything. Mughal ideas are here, and in other cultures also. So you see, there's a lot of variety, and it's a real. You can say it is really, really very commendable to live here, and of course, because you have to learn to live with the pressures, but also you enjoy quite a lot. And this is about the culture, but a part and partial is also those old buildings which are there, and all the heritage buildings. Fatehpur Masjid is there, Qutub Minar, Purana Kila, Humayun's Tomb, or Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia's Dargah, Red Fort, Jama Masjid, Jantar Mantar, Safdarjung Tomb, and so many other, Lodi Gardens, all these, Rashtrapati Bhavan for that matter, or India Gate. All these are all masterpieces, and it's really worthwhile to understand their history, their importance, and also look into their conservation, because we have to conserve these historical monuments. Because if we have to retain, or may you have to get this heritage site, that heritage city, India, Delhi is a World Heritage City and all, then we have to, protect these priceless heritage of Delhi, whether it is in terms of these monuments or cultures and so on. So I think it is quite a vibrant. I think I am not a Delhiite basically, but once I've started living in Delhi, I think I don't like to live anywhere else, because it's such a thriving atmosphere is there, and you look forward to so many things all the time, and such a lot of vibrant atmosphere is there. So I think we all agree to this, although it is very difficult also in terms of pollution and all those problems which are coming up, corruption and other things which are coming up. But yet at the same time, we love Delhi, and we love to be a part of Delhiites. So with these words, I welcome Ms. Jaya Iyer ji, and also all others who are here, who have joined us. And I'm sure this topic is going to be really, really very enriching, and very interesting as well, because this topic actually interested me also quite a lot, and I'm sure my students will also learn quite a lot. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. As you rightly said, there is a lot to learn from the city itself, and exploring Delhi has always been fascinating. So under your guidance, we are taking the first step this year to explore the city further. So thank you, ma'am. So I now request the co-convener, Ms. Divya Sharma, to introduce the speaker and carry forward the session. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I can't express my feelings when I'm introducing my own previous colleague, Ms. Jaya Iyer, who has been one of the pioneer when this course has been established, and theater component is like, what is the theater component we have in our BLA program across the colleges. We know Jaya has contributed a lot in that. So formal introduction about our speaker of the day would be, I would start from her journey, certain milestones she achieved. We will be just talking about that in brief. For over 2.5 decades, Ms. Jayamala has been exploring the art and weft of the world of art, learning and transformation, social development, and ecological integrity. She uses interactive and reflective practices based on instruction and design principles and art processes. She was awarded UNESCO Asperg Bursary to study the theatre of the oppressed with Augusto Boal Viscom Scholar of Peace Fellowship. She received USAID and Show of the Force Award of recognition. She has worked with a wide range of institutions, building leadership and capacity to combat issues using creative methods and dialogue. She has designed and led various public campaigns and on seed sovereignty, child rights, gender-based violence, anti-plastic, proactive peace building. She was CEO of a very reputed NGO Prava, and she led the process to set up National Center for Children and Youth um, in Nehru Memorial Museum and Library at Teen Murti Bhavan. We all know that. It's a premium public institution in New Delhi. She is associated with a number of organizations and movements as a consultant and advisor. As a theatre director, she has also helped develop and stage over 20 major productions and almost 1,000 studio, street, and community performances. Her productions have won Sahitya Kala Parishad's Best Play of the Year. It has been showcased in Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Urdu Theatre Festival, Shri Ram Summer Festival, and many more. She has traveled extensively with her performances and as a trainer across India and the world. She has been, as I spoke earlier, that she has been a guest faculty with Delhi University, teaching in the Bachelor of Elementary Education program. Currently, she is part of the core team conceptualizing and setting up a leadership institute at Panchgani, Maharashtra. So, in short, I can conclude that she is a dancer, martial art teacher, theatre worker, cook, and heritage guide, and many more talents are there in her persona. I can't summarize it more. Thank you, Jaya, for coming here and begin our series on heritage. We are just eager to listen to you now.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Principal Ma'am, for leading this wonderful process. And thank you, my friends from BLED Mata Sundari. I can almost feel that I'm inside Mata Sundari College. Just to kind of establish a connection, the first day of BLED in Mata Sundari, the first session, I was there as a facilitator, and if Radhika is there, she would remember. And sometimes our personal stories are so woven with the stories of institutions and the cities. And I find it a little funny. I'm sitting in Panchgani, which is in Maharashtra right now, and talking about Delhi, a city that I truly love, care for, and celebrate. So, just kind of unpacking the words. Delhi, heritage city. There are 3 words. And I would like to ask you students, or even the faculty if you want to respond, what does heritage mean to you? When we say the word heritage, what is it? What comes to your mind? Can unmute or raise your hand.
Students, you can also write in the chat box if you want.
What is heritage?
Ma'am, just to summarize in a few words, it is heritage is something which connects you with the history of that place. Not only the monuments, it may be related to the culture of that particular place as well.
Okay, so history is you're saying heritage is something that connects you to a place. Yeah, so it could be a monument or it could be a culture. Okay, and somebody has written its culture, it's traditional, it's a historical belonging. Okay, it's inheritance, it's legacy. Hindi में क्या कहेंगे? If we say heritage, somebody has written Kamaljeet. Virasat.
Dharohar, Virasat.
Dharohar. Okay. So, does it mean, like if I make a building today, I make a beautiful building, does it become heritage? Okay, you're saying no, and Mitali is saying yes. Okay. No, 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 yes. Okay. Okay. So what, those of you, anybody saying no? Why is it not a heritage? मैंने बहुत सुंदर building बनाया है. It's as beautiful as the Red Fort. Is it heritage? It needs to have bigger significance. Okay, so there is something about significance there. Okay, so because it does not have a
It has
story.
to be part of the history.
It has to be, Chitra, sorry?
Part of the history. Ma'am,
It
it has
has
to be the part of history. तब उसको कुछ time हो जाना चाहिए, कुछ 100 साल.
100 साल के बाद वो हिस्ट्री बनेगा. ओके, कुछ साल के बाद. ओके, सो लेट्स जस्ट स्टे विद दीज थॉट्स एंड when principal ma'am was talking, she said there are very many monuments of significance in this city. She said archaeological survey has over 1,000, 1,200, or in some cases, in some records, there are almost 1,500 monuments that are there in the city. But there are a few dozen national heritage monuments. Okay, so it would mean that they are of national level importance. And then in Delhi also has 3 World Heritage Sites, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. These are, any guesses? कौन से हैं? Okay, Sejal has said that it might be heritage to my family. Thank you, Sejal, for saying that. We are just coming back to that, exactly what you're saying. So there are 3 World Heritage Sites. Qutub Minar, Red Fort, which is actually Qila Mubarak, and the third is Humayun's tomb. Yeah, these 3 are World Heritage Sites. So there are sites which are important at a Delhi level. There are sites which are important at fewer of them at a national level, and then just 3 of them are of importance at a world, at an international level. So exactly like Sejal is saying, heritage is, so my house could be, the building that I make can be heritage for my family. And I may have something, it may be heritage for me, something that I have inherited from my grandmother. A sari that my mother used to wear might be heritage for me. A recipe that my aunt used to make may be a heritage for me, but it may not be heritage for everybody. So heritage, as many of you have said, has a cultural significance. It has a story around it. It means something more than what it physically stands as. Yeah. Okay, we'll just pause here for a minute. And what does Delhi mean? I'm not asking what the word Delhi means, but what does Delhi mean to you? Home, home. Okay. Anything else? It's a home city. Everything. So Ravneet has said. A place where I was born. Okay. And what's a city? What does a city mean? We all know what it means, but sometimes we don't know what we really think we know. हमें लगता है कि हम बहुत उसे आसानी से, शहर का मतलब क्या होता है? Okay, there are still responses to Delhi, I guess. What does a city mean? When does something become a city? Population and facilities are slightly more. An urban area where a particular society exists, it has boundary, more facilities, a place with facilities. Okay, a place where urbanization exists. Thank you. So there are several words that have come up. There is reference to facilities. There is reference to population. Somebody talks about boundary. And somebody has also mentioned a particular community. Yeah. Okay. I want to start with describing imagining Delhi. Some of you might have talked about it earlier also. Can you think of some of the natural features that define Delhi? Natural. Pollution natural थोड़ी है, हम इंसानों ने किया है. Yamuna. Okay, Yamuna river. Natural. I did not make it, you did not make it. Okay, Yamuna, Yamuna, Yamuna. Anything else? Ridge, Kamla Nehru, Aravali, Mahipalpur Ridge, the greenery that can't in Delhi Cant and Dhola Kuan area, Aravalis, plain. Okay. It's located in the heart of India, its weather. Thank you. So there are few features which surely define Delhi. There is a river, a huge one that runs from North Delhi, entering near अशोक विहार, वजीराबाद, उस सिग्नेचर ब्रिज के पास में से, उसके पीछे से Yamuna enters Delhi and then it crosses across ITO from near your college. It goes southwards, it goes to Okhla. Yeah, so on one axis we have the river, and then many of you have talked about the natural wells, Dhola Kuan. It's not a natural well, but it's a water-rich area. Yeah. So the other is the ridge, the Aravalis, which are one of the oldest mountain systems in the world. And from Gujarat, Rajasthan, across Haryana, it enters Delhi near, if you take the metro from Gurgaon side, you can see the Aravalis. They kind of come down like this and turn northwards towards Kamla Nehru Ridge, and it ends over there. So there is a kind of a slightly curved ridge on one side and the Yamuna on the other, and Delhi has traditionally existed inside, between Yamuna and the ridge. Just stepping back, some of you said it's at the heart of India, which would mean, actually, if you were traveling from north of India, let's say from Kashmir, you were going to Kanyakumari, or if you are going from east to west, let's say from Kolkata or Dhaka, or from the subcontinental aspect, if you're going from east to some of the major settlements, let's say Rajasthan or Punjab, or even further up towards Afghanistan, the east-west axis, they intersect very, very close to Delhi. Yeah. So two routes, which would be the major trading routes, intersect. And these are also natural routes. We'll just come to that. So on one side, it's right pretty much very close to the intersection between these axes. So if I was coming from Jaipur, Ajmer, or further anywhere from the west, and I wanted to go north, I would come here and turn. And similarly, if I was going anywhere on the east or the west axis, I would come very close to Delhi. So Delhi is located in a very, very interesting place. This makes it a fertile ground for very many things to happen. And that's why all contexts, all our human history unfolds on what is naturally given. मैं दिल्ली को अपना कैपिटल या दिल्ली को इम्पोर्टेंट जगह क्यों मानूंगी अगर वो कहीं ऐसी जगह पर हो जहां पर पहुंचना ही मेरे लिए मुश्किल हो या फिर वो ऐसी जगह पर हो जो बहुत अनसेफ हो तो दिल्ली हैज ऑलवेज बीन इट इज naturally located at a place which is convenient, which is accessible, which provides access to very many places in the subcontinent. So when we talk about heritage, we talk of three kinds of heritage, and some of you have already mentioned it. We talk about the natural heritage, which is not the human made heritage. So rocks can be heritage, rivers can be heritage, like Manas National Park is a World Heritage Site, or Kailash Mansarovar could be a World Heritage Site, or Sundarbans is a natural heritage site. So these are natural, these are not built by humans. So the natural heritage, on that comes, like many of you mentioned, and like Principal Ma'am was talking about, the human intervention, the built heritage. Yeah, the buildings that we made could be the rock paintings that we made. Like Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh is a World Heritage Site. It has paintings by from the Neolithic and even an earlier Mesolithic, Neolithic periods. So it has these rock paintings. तो जो इंसानों ने बनाया, चाहे वो rock paintings है, चाहे buildings है, they are the built heritage. And then some of you did mention the cultural aspect of it. So there can be intangible heritage, which is something that you can't touch, something that you can't hold, but something that exists as practices, beliefs, knowledge systems, interactions. So a festival can be a natural heritage, an intangible heritage. A skill can be the art of making zardozi, can be an intangible heritage site. It's not a site in terms of a physical site alone. It might be in a geographical area क्योंकि यहीं पे होता है. The best block prints happen in Bagh or Jaipuri prints. So it could depend on the site, the physical location जहाँ पर वो होता है, but the art itself becomes an heritage. So in Delhi, we find all of this in a beautiful way. And when we look at Delhi across time, we see how a site which has Yamuna on one hand and Aravallis on the other. And because of this, it becomes an interesting meeting ground for different kinds of ecologies. From the Aravallis, from the western side comes the arid desert like राजस्थान के desert की हवाएं तो वहां के पेड़ पौधे वहां के जानवर आपको बहुत सारे रिज वाली जगह पर मिलेंगे बेर के हों या जाल के पेड़ के ये कटीले वाले the arid plants and flora and fauna of that area you find them in Delhi. With Yamuna comes the kikar. And with Yamuna comes the terai, or the Ganga Jamuna ka jo bank wala area hai, ecology of that areas. So that would have lush green, like the mango, jamun, and even sometimes varieties of low hill varieties of flora and fauna. So you would find those varieties also in Delhi. Yeah. And from the southern side comes the monsoon forest वाले. मध्य प्रदेश के जो कुछ खास पेड़ पौधे और कुछ जानवर है, flora fauna of the monsoon forest of central India, those also you find here. So those would be certain kinds of cassia plants, anjan ka ped, some of these white barked dahu pe trees. So you find in Delhi at least 3 different kinds of ecologies meeting. And when there is so much of diversity within such a small area, you call it a edge ecology. It's an edge. Yahan par, this is the easternmost end of Aravalli and the arid ecology. And this is like almost the northernmost end of the Terai Ilaka, the Ganga Jamuna, the sub-Himalayan ecology. And this is the northernmost tip of the monsoon forest of the central India. So here we find all of this mixing, meeting, and this is exciting. And because this is so interesting ecologically, it renders itself to different kinds of possibilities. So because of this, the human history unfolds on this. I'm going to stop for a minute. Somebody says that background chirping bird is very fascinating. Yeah, I am sitting in Panchgani, but let me tell you, I have lots and lots of birds here. But let me tell you, Delhi has the second highest number of bird diversity that any city has. Nairobi mein hai, which has a little over 300 varieties of birds, and Delhi has almost 300 varieties of birds. पूरे इंडिया में 1500 किस्म की चिड़िया मिलती हैं लगभग, और उनमें से 300 हमें दिल्ली में मिलते हैं. So Delhi is this fascinating natural heritage site on which the human heritage unfolds. I'm going to pause for a minute and just get a sense. Where are you? How are you feeling? What's coming up in your thoughts and minds? Was it too technical?
No. I think everybody is mesmerized with the description you are giving about the city.
Yeah, so somebody is saying Miss exploring, remembering second year trip, loving Delhi more and more. Yeah. Yeah. I think because it is located in this beautiful space, human beings started inhabiting it pretty early. So we find references of clearly, at least Neolithic settlements in many places. Yeah. तो जो पाषाण युग से इंसान यहाँ रहते थे, there are some rock shelters, some very rough and faint rock etching and paintings that have been found in Delhi. Yeah. So because it has a hill, so it's wonderful. It gives you shelters, it gives you a lot of space to stay. And because it has a big river, and with the river, very many smaller rivers. Let me just add one more thing, because शायद कुछ स्टूडेंट्स को पता हो, कुछ को ना पता हो, दिल्ली में एक बड़ी सी यमुना बहती है, लेकिन एक्चुअली दिल्ली में 18 नदियां हैं, 18 rivers, and I want to use the word rivers, nadi. These are small rivers and 17 of them originate from the southern side of Aravalis. अरावली में से निकल के छोटी छोटी नदियां यमुना में जाके मिलती हैं. And just in Delhi, 17 rivers. Can you imagine? And one comes from the northern side, शादरा वाले साइड से, वो थोड़ा पीछे से आती है. शादरा के भी ऊपर से, much further up, it actually comes from western UP side. It enters and it comes across Delhi and meets Yamuna. Unfortunately, all these rivers have been turned into, you know what? You know what?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Yeah. All have been turned into sewage carriers. So every time we flush, drains are natural drains also, but these are sewage. Okay. So the word nala in Hindi literally means nadi nale, है ना? पहले गंदे नाले होते ही नहीं थे. It's only in the last century, actually less than a century, Delhi got the first sewage pipe laid out in 1927 or something. And then the drain pipes were promptly connected to all these nadis, and then they became sewage carriers. And now when we look at them, we don't even imagine that this can actually be a river. So many of you who are from the western part of Delhi would know of this Najafgarh, what is now called the Najafgarh Nala. Yeah, many of you know of it. कुछ को पता है? Yes. Okay. This used to be, and this still is, and there is a, at some point I'll connect you to, or I will send Anshika the link to a young girl who is trying to do a campaign to save this river and the lake. नजफगढ़ की झील जो है, वहां से एक नदी निकलती थी जिसका नाम है साहिबी नदी. And Sahibi, as many of you would know, means beautiful, just majestic. Sahibi Nadi. And this river used to flow into Yamuna. And now it is a drain, a sewage carrier. Yeah. And actually, if you are flying out of Delhi, the moment the flight takes off from the Delhi airport, you can see a huge water expanse, and that is actually Sahibi Nadi. Unfortunately, because we have too many wonderful things we don't probably value in maybe a country like Scotland or something, they keep talking about this river called Clyde. And I was like, I've read so much about Clyde, and when I went and saw Clyde, Clyde is like, yeah, maybe 30 feet wide. That's it. And it's a national river and very celebrated. Yeah, it's a so. But whereas Sahibi Nadi in Delhi, many of us may not even know. So this is in this water-rich, shelterful area, human beings started living early on from the Stone Ages, Neolithic at least, and then continued into the farming spaces, and then it was part of a very big civilization. Any guesses? Which civilization was Delhi a part of to begin with, the earliest? Okay, 3 choices. Mohenjo-daro. Yeah, Chitra. Harappan.
Indus Valley.
Right. So it was part of the Indus Valley. And it's fascinating because many of us, when we think about Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, we think it's somewhere out there in Pakistan. At best, maybe Lothal, Kalibangan in Gujarat. But it was all across Haryana and right up to Delhi, and goes even further a little eastwards along Yamuna, because Yamuna at that time was actually feeding into another river called Gaggar, and Gaggar was probably feeding into Indus. And rivers keep changing courses, and Yamuna changed course, and Gaggar also became a much smaller river over the period of time. But in Delhi, there are sites which were Harappan sites. Includes this small place called Mandavli. It used to be called Mandoli. Mandavli, जो मंडावली से कोई है या मंडावली के आसपास से?
मैम मैं शकरपुर में रहती हूँ तो मंडावली पास में है.
हाँ, तो and Bhorgarh towards North Delhi. Yeah, yeah, Richa. It's IP extension के पास में ही, further down Mandavli. And Bhorgarh is towards North Delhi. Aditi College जाएंगे तो उसके रास्ते में आता है, उसके आसपास. So, like, these are huge sites where many houses, burial sites, all of these have been discovered within Delhi, which are of Harappan, Mohenjo-daro contemporary times. And many of them were reasonably big cities. And then, of course, I am aware that we are running out of time. I just want to bring, Richa has mentioned the Vedic. So, we don't exactly know what happened, but some of these cities continued to be inhabited, and some of them kind of fell out. Maybe there were attacks from outside, maybe the rivers changing of the course affected them, maybe there were earthquakes or some other, maybe there was a pandemic. We don't know completely. Yeah, so floods, many reasons could have been there. And but there were also sites which continued to be inhabited. Maybe they did not continue to be urban centers or power centers. Maybe they became smaller, decentralized, more rural. So it's not that rural places become urban. Urban places also go back to being more rural. It's a cyclical thing. There are very few places which continue to be in a singular way. Change is natural. There are villages that become more organized and might become power centers, so urban in some ways, and there could be a parallel of urban centers reclaiming more land and becoming more and more rural in some ways. But there were clearly writings that started at a later period by people who were writers who could sing songs, and then these were written, and the stories of them come down to us in forms of Vedic writings or in forms of epic writings, in forms of poetries, chants, in very many ways. And I want to end with a story about Yamuna. Yamuna is referred to in much more older texts than Ganga comes into the reference. So the older Vedic texts will talk about Yamuna, they don't talk about Ganga. And Yamuna is supposed to be a sister of Yam. And these are mythical stories. Yeah, they are symbolic stories. So it talks of a period when Yam was the first human being to die. And when he died, his sister went into mourning. And she said, "Oh, it's only fair that I should mourn today because my brother has died." और उन दिनों में ना दिन था ना रात था, it was a continuum, and the sister kept mourning and mourning and mourning. वो बस शोक मनाई जा रही थी और सब देवताओं ने उसे मनाने की कोशिश की, but she would not listen. उसने कहा जी तो मेरा भाई मरा है. Then they decided to do something and they got a night in between. उससे पहले रात नहीं होती थी. So the gods came up with this idea and they created night so the day would end and you could stop mourning and wake up the next day. Yeah, the cyclical time comes into being with Yamuna, and that's what Yamuna represents. Yeah, and it's on the banks of Yamuna that so much of Delhi's history has unfolded. Yeah, and like Yamuna ka cycles of loss and gain, of day and night, Delhi has seen good times, bad times, but always comes back, rises again. Kuch to hai isme. Yeah. I want to stop here. Maybe we'll have question answers.
Yeah, so we were although wishing to hear you more and more, but we know we have more lectures also. So we will get to listen more about our Delhi and our heritage in our coming sessions as well. So I invite our participants, students, and faculty members who may be having some questions to be addressed to the speaker. Please, one by one, you can just come in. Or you may write your questions in the chat box. I may speak up on your behalf if you wish. People may write or may speak up for their questions. You may directly address to the speaker. Nobody is writing. Anything, any curiosity? Yeah. Okay. Richa ma'am is asking for certain names of the books on Delhi, if you can suggest.
There are lots and lots of books. What particularly would be of interest to you, Richa? Would it be history? Would it be... I can also send a list of some of the books. I can type them out and give it to you. But off the cuff, like if you are interested in, there is Upendra Singh's Ancient Delhi, which gives references to Mandavli, Bhorgarh, all of Delhi's ancient heritage. And then there is, if you're particularly interested in the trees, there is Pradeep Kishan's Trees of Delhi. There have been a lot of writing on Delhi has started now. So Rana Safi has written several books about women from Delhi, about Shah Jahanabad itself. So and then there are books now getting written about cuisines of Delhi. So if you could also tell me, then I can send you a specific list that would interest you.
Yeah, there is another question. Like Bhavneet is asking how much time it took for you to explore Delhi on foot.
Bhavneet,
Time.
all my life I've been exploring. I've lived almost 50 years in the city. I have, since the time I started walking, I've been exploring for more than 25 years in a very structured way. We have a group that walks every Sunday, and still there are very many monuments and parts of the city that I have not explored.
Yeah.
If you had to start a tour of Delhi and end it somewhere, Uh, okay, Sejal. One, I would want to explore the at least the 8, 9 cities of Delhi. So I would go to Mehroli Archaeological Park and the area around that. I would want to spend a day exploring Yamuna. Tughlaqabad is an area I would surely explore. But if I had to walk all day, then I would probably Mehroli Archaeological Park would be, yeah. But I can't tell you
Vidya
because
ma'am,
of
can
the
I
day
ask?
that last time
Sure.
the longest I walked was on Guru Nanak Jayanti. Last year I walked from my house in South Delhi to Nanakpur. So it took about 4.5 hours to walk. I walked
Mhm. Yeah,
about
the
50
meanwhile,
kilometers.
I just, yeah, I am just remind. I mean, Jaya and I can talk for days and days, not just hours,
yeah.
because the way we both love the city and also love each other is tremendous. And these second years did not have a chance to have an academic enrichment where we take them for a heritage walk. Unfortunately, the time when we had to plan that last year, it was the time when Corona was, at its bloom. So this was not an opportunity that we could explore with them, but Jaya has been really instrumental because not just that she has set up the theater and the self-development component here, she has also introduced us to the city. I can count more than 15 to 20 places where I have been with Jaya on within the period program. So it's really important. Jaya, my question is that Delhi, although we have talked more about heritage today, but I don't want to leave this question. कहते हैं कि दिल्ली बहुत बार बसी और बहुत बार उजड़ी और उसमें उसके जोग्राफिकल लोकेशन का जहाँ वो प्लेस्ड है इंडिया की वो एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है तो क्या उस पर आप हमें कुछ और बता पाएंगे
Uh, yeah. So, ek to, as we were talking about it, it is actually strategically in an amazing place. You have Aravalis, which are natural barriers, fortification on one side, and this huge river, uh, which till the British built the Lohe ka Pul jo Shadra ki taraf hai, the first railway bridge. It was almost impossible to cross the river many months of the uh, year. There used to be these boat wale pontoon seasonal bridges would be there. Otherwise, you would have to take a boat to cross the city. So you had this huge river on one side, and you had this the hills on one side. So it was strategically very, very well located. And everywhere else that people have tried to go, like from the and it's from the Tomars and the Chauhans to Delhi Sultanate. It continued being the power center. Lodhis tried to shift, but they were not very, very powerful, and they could not find a equally good location. At the time of Akbar, we see that the capital moves to Agra, but comes back again. Akbar also sets up Fatehpur Sikri. Again, water is a huge problem in these areas. He comes back to Agra, and then Jahangir doesn't live in this city, though he uses Agra as a base at times. He uses Lahore as his base. But very soon, his son Shah Jahan returns to Delhi because you can't find a better strategically located city. And maybe there are stories that Delhi is the city of jinns. Huh?
Mhm.
Now these are stories. I believe in the energy of the city, but there is something beautiful that allows people to come back and settle and rise again and again. So, and it has And it has seen enough invaders during the Mughal period, during the Sultanate period, during the Tughlaq's period. Taimur's attack happens, later Nadir Shah attacks, uh, at the late Mughal period. And British shift after 1857, the capital is shifted to Kolkata. But within 30 years, they come back to Delhi, at least make the announcement that Delhi would be the city. It's because it's at the heart of the country. And even Tughlaq once tried to move. Aurangzeb had plans of shifting to Daulatabad, but it had to come back to Delhi. I think it's the location, it's the northwest, north, south, east, west axis, but maybe the micro location also of the city. And beyond that, maybe it's the genes.
Remember, you took us to the gyms also in one of the walk.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, ma'am, we have not many questions to address, and we can post it to Jaya ma'am. So maybe for next of the sessions, we may have more discussions and deliberations on them, because now we are running short of the time as well. Everybody has their own schedules also to follow. So can we wind up the session? I can do it if you permit us. Yes, Samit ma'am.
You can just ask Jaya ma'am, because
Exactly.
she might be having more engagements. There are one or two questions still in the chat
Yeah.
box.
I'll-
If there is a possibility.
I'll talk about a couple. I'll respond to a couple of these questions. Yeah, and rest we can, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And somebody has asked why I was interested in Delhi. I think I was born here. This is the city I knew, and I know I just why you love doesn't have any reasons. No, you just love, and then you find reasons of why it is so. So it started with just a sense that I like this city. There is so much that, and and then there is a deeper belief. I think. I think it's only love that brings out love. So this is a city which is very, very. I mean, there are very few people who love this city. The more we love, the city will love us back. So it was a philosophical aspect like that. And then somebody asked why there is more writing on Yamuna than Ganga. I think the people who were writing it were coming from the west and moving towards the east. So you first find a lot of references to Indus, and then you find references to the Yamuna system, and then to the Gangetic system, and then further on. That's my understanding.
Ma'am, can I say
Yeah.
something?
Yes, Kajal.
Ma'am, first of all, it's so good to see you after so many days. And I think it's not an question, it's not a question, but an observation. I live in Shahadra, but and when you said that Shahadra may be a river, hai, so I was like, oh my God, oh, I never knew that Shahadra may be river. Hai. So I think आई मीन ये सोचने पर मजबूर करता है कि वाई वी डोंट नो द प्लेस वी लिव इन, हमें उसके बारे में क्यों नहीं पता होता. आई मीन शहादरा इट्स नॉट वेरी बिग, आई लिव इन इट. सो आई मीन किसी आई डोंट थिंक यहाँ पर किसी को पता होगा कि यहाँ पर एक रिवर भी है. सो ऐसा क्यों होता है?
थैंक यू काजल. ये तो तुम अच्छे से तुमने कॉन्टेक्चुअल लर्निंग के बारे में, करिकुलम कौन कहाँ से डिसाइड होता है, इन सब के पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में बीएलएड में काफी बातें की होंगी, ऑफ नोइंग फ्रॉम लोकल टू ग्लोबल जाना, एंड यू नो फ्रॉम know enough about it. So there is, we know why, I mean, you do know why we don't know many things. We know more about maybe Europe and US than we know about, let's say, some of our states or our own neighborhoods. It's, but your question is important, and it stay with it, and we will find those answers.
Okay, So I just want to thank Jaya ma'am. She has very well explained the meaning of heritage, and she has almost touched upon vast number of aspects of our heritage, whether natural or intangible, or the built heritage we have in our city. And she has really mapped the context of Delhi's heritage very beautifully, taking to us from the river Yamuna to the Aravalis to the kind of historical regimes it has seen. So, and we know that in our everyday life, we somehow started ignoring it or maybe devaluing our rich heritage, which we need to actually value. And I hope this talk has somehow infused the sense of appreciation for our city and its rich heritage among us. So we will continue to have more such sessions. And before we conclude this, I would request Ms. Anshika to propose a vote of thanks for all those people who have made this event possible for us. Anshika, ma'am.
Thank you, Divya ma'am. It's my privilege to put forth the vote of thanks. So, beginning with our colleague and a very dear friend, Ms. Jayamala, for such an insightful session. And I'm sure each of the participants, they had significant insights and takeaways from the session today. And, we all realize the significance of, looking and, paying attention to the heritage. But before I move on further, I would like to request Principal Ma'am if she would like to say something. Ma'am.
Yeah, and it's actually very, very fruitful. And the pertinent question raised is that we are living so close in, like in Delhi, but we are not aware of, the background. And that is really, really shaking me that, we are unable to understand the whole heritage. And that is why probably we are losing the heritage so fast, because we are not aware of it, we don't understand, we don't go deep into it. And these are the reasons, I think, that is why probably these changes are coming in and we are losing the heritage. And she has also beautifully told so many other things, that at one end of Delhi we have, you see, Aravalis are also the last part, and Tarai also, and it is a beautiful combination of so many things. So that was really marvelous. I think it is also by biodiversity hotspot also that way. We have beautiful flora and fauna also in Delhi. So we can enjoy Delhi more if we go in deep into it. And I think the heritage walks and all, which we just think about and we plan at various stages, I think they will make the students and the young generation more aware about the deep history behind it. And then they can appreciate more. I would also like to add here, because you see, there are 10 historical gurdwaras in Delhi, and the 10th one was found very recently. Banda Singh Bahadur, who was executed here, and but where that exact place was, nobody knew a little back, and it's not very far back. That place was actually located. And a Gurdwara was established there, and those pillars which are found in the Persian sources, we could match that, and then we could actually locate those places. For example, where his last remains were actually not exactly cremated, because he was executed so badly. He was cut into parts, and those parts were actually taken back by the Khatris, and they did the last rites, and that is what is the Barapulla, that flyover, which is renamed as Banda Singh flyover, Banda Singh Bahadur flyover, and so and that place was located. So I was also a part of
of this whole project, and I found it so interesting that how we go back to the Persian sources, and then you can actually relate to those things. For example, that Mehroli Gurdwara is so beautiful, and one pillar is still with the government, and that part has not been converted into Gurdwara, but the pillars were so huge that there were rooms atop, and Gurdwara is placed there. And so architectural background also we can think about, and we can think of those measures, that how architecture also has amalgam of all those styles which are going on. So these all things, these queries, and more things can come out. I think at that river part was beautiful what you mentioned, that we really don't know that how things we figure out. For example, in Patel Nagar also there was one lake, I think it was by the people only that who did it, and that lake, but we are unable to understand these importance of these things. So small things, a small thought on your site, and I think it is going to be a great contribution to the entire history and heritage. And I really thank Jaya for explaining it so beautifully, and very enlightening and very interesting. I found it very interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. After listening to you and Jaya ma'am's session, I've realized that the more you come to know about heritage, the more we realize that we know nothing literally. So as you said, it's very important to pay attention.
Unmute yourself, Anshika ma'am. Unmute.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that after listening to ma'am and Jaya's session, I've realized that the more we come to know about the heritage, the more we realize that we know nothing. So, it's very important that this is the time that we, take cognizance of the rich heritage that we have. And secondly, as teachers, it's important to be aware of these things so that the students can take the benefit of the same awareness and the knowledge that we have. So with this, I again thank Jaya ma'am for a session. And I also take the opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to Professor Harpreet Kaur, the patron, for her vision for the series and her valuable guidance for this endeavor. Thank you, ma'am. A warm thanks to our convener, Dr. Ravneet Kaur, for her constant support and motivation to the team at each stage. Thank you, Dr. Ravneet. I also thank my co-convener, Ms. Divya, for her cooperation and efforts at each and every stage of this event, right from conceptualization to the present day. Thank you. Gratitude is also due to the faculty members of the BLED department for their suggestions towards enriching these endeavor. And last but not the least, I thank all the participants for their engagement, and we promise you much more equally engaging sessions and enriching sessions for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. If you could just send me the questions, yeah, you will be able to save it. If you can